to my YouTube channel. My name is Daniel Lee. If you couldn't tell by the the channel name, Daniel Lee Ministries, that's me. I'm Daniel Lee, and I have a ministry. And I'm sure you're wondering, what is my ministry? Well, I'm currently a youth pastor, and I want to impact students' lives, and that's just kind of a calling I have, and I believe it's from God, and I'm convinced it's from God. So here's my story about how I know I'm convinced to be a youth pastor, to say the best way possible there. So I grew up in a Christian home with a mom and dad. I have 3 sisters, one older named Tiffany, and 2 younger, one named Laura, one named Sarah. And me and Sarah are about 10 years apart. Me and Laura about 3 years apart. Me and Tiffany are about 3 years apart. So that's kind of my dynamic of my family. So you can psychoanalyze that all you want. But we grew up in church. Every time the doors are open on Sundays or Wednesdays, or for a special fellowship, or for a Fish Fry Friday, you name it, we went to the church. I grew up in a Southern Baptist home, so been going to Southern Baptist churches my whole life. I know the ins and outs of Southern Baptist. I know some of the drama inside the Southern Baptist church. But I'm not here to talk about this. I'm here to talk about my testimony and how I know I'm called to be a youth minister. So let me tell you about the basic part of my testimony and how God called me out of darkness. So that started about when I was 9 years old, and I call this first step the call to light. That's what I'm going to call this. And it was during this play called the Heaven Gates and Hell Flames presentation, and you can find it on YouTube if you want. There's a 2020 rendition of it, which is quite interesting. I binged that the other night, and it's about as I remembered it. So if you ever put one on, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you don't, go watch a YouTube video. It's quite the play. And I had the opportunity to go to one of these plays because our church was hosting it. And not just our church was hosting it, but several family members were in this play. Like my dad, who was crushed by a bunch of bricks in the play, and my older sister, who played a demon. So, I had to go, and I was excited about going. So I went to this play, and I was sitting there watching the play at 9 years old. And this probably shouldn't be something a 9-year-old watches, but God got his message through, because I saw my dad crushed by a bunch of bricks and go to heaven, and I saw my sister drag people to hell. And through those 2 experiences, I was like, you know what? I probably need Jesus, because I don't want to be crushed by a bunch of bricks and go to hell. I want to know Jesus and find out who this Jesus dude is. So going to church all the time, I knew some of the basics, like Jesus can walk on water, like Jesus can feed the 5,000, but I didn't know what it meant to have a full relationship with Jesus Christ. So I went down after the call and invitation, and I met with one of my deacons, and me and my deacon talked for a little bit, and through that conversation, I accepted Christ into my life. And from that moment on, I'll love to say that I lived the perfect Christian life, but no, I'm a human. I struggled for a while. Up until youth group, I kind of didn't know what it meant to live a Christian life. I always said I had Jesus, but I didn't know what it meant to have Jesus. So in my first year in my youth group, which is the youth group I'm currently the director of, I went on this mission trip to Ohio where we got to minister to a homeless shelter. And then through this exchange, me and one of my good friends, David, we shared the gospel to so many people. And I never saw God work through my life like he did in 2008. Like, it was just, before that moment, I just never knew what God working in your life actually felt like, what it meant. And God used me, someone who wasn't even like 100% dedicated to the church, just someone who accepted Christ and still goes to church. And God was like, I'm going to use you to speak my truth to these elderly men, to these working men, to these men who haven't held a job down in years, to these women who have 4 or 5 children. I got to witness to these people and minister to these people, and it was incredible. Our youth group saw 15 people come to Christ, and God used me and my friend David to bring about 10 of those. And I was so pumped. I said, God, I want you to use me more like this. And I started having a prayer life. But you know what? Even after that mission trip, that spiritual high kind of dissipated. So during camps and mission trips, I would get these sparks from Jesus and excited about Jesus, but those would just last the summer, and then by the wintertime, I was kind of back in the groove of everyday life. I was in this roller coaster of faith for about my whole high school career until God told me, and I was in this roller coaster phase for a few years until God kind of took my friends away. My secular friends away. He took them away. They went to the military, went to college, and I was kind of just left alone. I didn't know what to do. So I've actually found a job with my friend David at a Chick-fil-A, and we started working together, and we started ministering to each other, we started loving on each other, became best friends, and it was incredible, and it was awesome, and I was excited about it. And then I heard about the camp we used to go to as youth. They were hiring interns for the summer to be summer missionaries, and I jumped on a bandwagon. And my thought in my head was, God, I want to own a Chick-fil-A because I was impacted by Chick-fil-A. I love Chick-fil-A, I love their mission, love their call. I love everything about it, and I just wanted to be an operator of Chick-fil-A at this moment. But you know, before I do this, I'm gonna give God one summer. I'm gonna give God one summer to use my life, to impact my life, so I can use this stuff to grow what God has for me at Chick-fil-A. So I go to the summer camp, and God basically tells me no. God tells me that's not the direction He has for me. That He wants me to be in the ministry, and I believe it is the youth ministry that I was called to. So I was convinced, I was for sure about to go to it. So I go up to my former youth pastor, the guy who ministered in my life. I go, Brandon, I want to be a youth pastor. And he asked me a question. Why do you want to be a youth pastor? Do you think it's all fun and games? And it kind of discouraged me from being a youth pastor. And I was like, oh, maybe I don't want to be a youth pastor. So I walked away from that dream for a little bit until God used more of His word to call me more directly to it. So then after that summer mission trip, I went up to my youth pastor once again. I was like, hey, like I feel called to be a youth minister. I would love for you to give me your blessing to put your name on my application so I can be a youth pastor. He looks at me and goes, no. And I'm like, dude, I came to you once, you said no, that you don't think I'm called to that. Then I come to you again, saying that I'm convinced that I'm called to this, and you just say straight up no. He goes, let me tell you this. You spend one day a week with me, being an intern for me, and if you're called to youth ministry, and I see it, I'll put my name on any application you sign. I'm like, okay, done deal. So I spent the whole fall with him and interning with him and be excited to do that. And within 2 weeks, I felt like it was 2 weeks, maybe it was a little more, but like within like the first event that we did together, he looked at me and goes, you are called to youth ministry. And I was excited about it. I was on fire for it. I was ready for it, but no jobs opened up. So then I felt called to go to school and get my degree. And I go off and get my degree, and God used that moment in my life, those times in my life where I'm going to college, and He used that moment to teach me that I need to depend on Him more. That I depended on my youth pastor, that I depended on my friends at college, my friends at home, that I need to focus on Him and depend on Him. And I learned that lesson the hard way, and anyone that has to learn that lesson the hard way, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Gotta take friends away, gotta limit influences in your life, and you will feel alone and depressed and lonely. And I felt that hard my second semester of college. And then, out of nowhere, I gained a few friends here and there, and I started having this amazing opportunity, just being blessed by God and being fortunate enough to God, and that got me really encouraged. And to open up an internship at a different church, and I started doing that for a few weeks until disaster hit, and the youth pastor left, and the church kind of crumbled, and that was sad and tragic. But God used those moments to show me that I'm called to youth ministry, that I need to first depend on Him. I need to first serve Him. That I need to not rely on my own understanding, my own strength. I need to rely on Jesus and what He has for me. And through those lessons, God opened up this next door, which was my final semester down there, which is my second semester, I believe, that I get a phone call from my former youth pastor who's now becoming our associate pastor for the church that I grew up in. He asked me to come down and become the youth director at the church. And I was like, yes, I will go do it. I will do this time in hopes that it will one day lead to a full-time position. And that's been my goal ever since, is to have this full-time position and to move forward into full-time youth ministry. And whatever that means for me going to the future, I want to be able to serve God as much as I can. And right now, the stars are starting to align, the things are starting to get together, and I'm excited for the future. I'm excited what God has for me, and I'm not quite sure what that is yet, but I'm pretty sure that's me eventually marrying the girl that I'm currently dating, me moving forward in life, and hopefully becoming a youth pastor, because that's what I'm called to, what I'm driven to. So if I don't make YouTube videos, don't hate on me, don't DM me, don't be angry, but pray for me. Pray that I find time to make a video while I'm serving the youth, while I'm growing my group. And I'm excited about where this direction's going. And I hope you were encouraged by my testimony that you've seen that God called me at a young age, but he didn't show me how he could use me until my teenage years. And even then, I didn't understand how fully he could use me until about my adult years, the last like 5 or 6 years. I really seen God move. Even in the times of trials, I go to God first, I pray to him, and I hope that you all do the same, that you grow and hope in Christ, because that's the most important thing you can do. So there should be some videos coming this summer. I'm excited about that. We'll be making those here shortly. I have a new video assistant. I'm currently dating her. She doesn't know this, but she's definitely gonna be my video assistant. She's definitely not giving me a dirty look right now. It's more of a smirk. She's definitely giving me a smirk right now. She's behind the scene. Her name is Molly. I'm excited about the future with her. So I'll see you all here in a little bit. Check out for my next video coming this summer. Peace.